living contrary to the way he was made, you are going to be miserable. You are not made to be slothful. Hey, the Bible isn't a psychiatry book. I kind of beg to differ. This is Wretched Radio, the Bible, that antiquated book that progressives would say just doesn't speak to the issues of our day. Furthermore, it's filled with all kinds of fantastic stories, and it contradicts itself, and I'm so sorry. And it's like the telephone game. It's just an old book that doesn't have a place in today's conversation about our emotional issues. I would like to suggest the Bible proves itself to be more than sufficient for helping us understand ourselves and our emotional problems. Case in point, right here in my never-before nicotine-stained figures, an article from Derek Brown, citing the 8 marks of a sluggard. Now, there are several reasons this article is important. Number 1, it has the number 8, and we love lists. So that's a really good reason. The article itself could be lousy, but if it's a list, it qualifies for fodder here on Wretched Radio. Second, there's a whole lot of people that are exactly this, sluggards. Furthermore, this article is important because it reveals that the Bible diagnoses the problem. Don't forget, whenever it comes to an emotional issue, most likely, if not every time, really close to, there's something going on. This isn't Freudian. We're not going to go interpret your dreams and figure out how you were treated by your mother. But we do want to dig deeper than what presents itself on the surface. So let's just say somebody comes into the office, you're counseling them, and they say, my life is a hash. Is that the problem? No, that's the fruit of the problem. Let's get down to why. And you then would ask a lot of questions to discover, oh, I see why life is a complete dog's breakfast for this fellow or fellowette. It's because they are a sluggard. That's the term the Bible uses for somebody who's lazy. And the fruit of their laziness, their slothfulness, is a life that just, it ain't happening. And then the biblical counselor can go read what does the Bible say about the sluggard to work through it step by step until you get to the number 8 to help the person see here's what's really going on. It offers both a diagnosis and a prognosis. It tells you this is the issue. This is what you're going to experience from being a sluggard. And this is then how you address it now that you recognize what it is. So let us take a look at the brilliance of the Bible again in describing the 8 marks of a sluggard. Numero uno. That's also the number 1. The sluggard will not start things. They've got an initiative problem. They rely on others to tell them what to do. Proverbs 6:9. Verbal output outstrips his actual production. Proverbs 14:23. He talks of great plans, but he just can't seem to put them in action. That's the sluggard. They don't get anywhere because they never get off the dime. They never hit go. They never cross the starting line. They don't respond to the gun. We get the point already. They just sit, but they talk a big game. If you know somebody like that, you can point them to the way of the sluggard, and you can start to show them, you keep this up, this is where you're headed, guaranteed. Because the Bible accurately describes what happens to the life of a sluggard. The sluggard, number 2, will not finish things. They don't start them, and if they do, they don't get them done. This is someone who has a growing stack of half-read books on his desk. Ouch, ow, ow, ow. Sometimes, though, books, the first half tends to be the better half, frankly, doesn't it? I've read lots of books that started out great and then just limp to the finish line. Nevertheless, this one never finishes a book. A host of home projects awaiting completion. Multiple promises to friends and family left unfulfilled. a collection of almost written articles in the queue, and a gym membership hasn't been used since 2018. That is the way of the sluggard. What do we do with this information? We ask questions. Tell me about your book pile. Tell me about the projects that you've been meaning to get to at home. Well, I haven't done this, I haven't done that, I haven't done the other thing. My wife's getting kind of annoyed with me. Okay, it looks like you're a sluggard. And while that is a hard word, remember, whenever we let the Bible interpret our hearts and our motivations and what is really going on without using psychological gobbledygook, it then provides hope and help for us. Why should somebody not be a sluggard? We'll get to that in just a moment. Number 3 sign of the 8 marks of a sluggard: the sluggard will not face hard things. If confronted with a hard decision or a hard conversation, the sluggard thrown into indecision, wavering between multiple options, and will tend to turn to entertainment to take one's mind off of the work that is set before him or her. They just flee to a happy place. They just console themselves that they're filling their days because they're watching a lot of Netflix. They just can't do the hard work that sometimes human relationships demand, don't they? That's the life of the sluggard. If any of these, by the way, are tagging you, it doesn't mean perhaps that you're a full-blown sluggard, but these are areas of our life. Don't we all need to get better at these? Number 4, the sluggard is anxious and restless. Living contrary to the way he was made, you are going to be miserable. You are not made to be slothful. You are not made to put your hands on your chest, twiddle your thumbs, fall asleep, and then drool on your chest. You were made for work. Why should you do those things? We'll get to that in a moment. Remember, if we aren't operating the way that God wants us to operate, because that's the way that he made us, everything is out of whack. Everything. It won't work, at least not to its maximum capacity. I have a pair of really filthy glasses in my hand. Now, I could use these perhaps as a screwdriver to try to adjust my microphone. It might work, but not efficiently, not well. Furthermore, I'm neglecting their actual job description. They're supposed to be on my face, helping me read the 8 marks of a sluggard article better. That's what they're made for. In other words, what I'm trying to say is my glasses are happiest when they're on my face. I know it's an inanimate object. It doesn't have emotions, but the illustration points toward us. You're made to work hard. And when you're not, you can't be happy. You can't. Because that's not the way that God made you. Please note, this might be a word of caution for all of us. Not everybody needs to work at the same clip. Not everybody needs to be at a particular speed all the time. In fact, nobody should be at a particular speed all the time because it indicates you aren't aware of seasons that require more or less. And we want to make sure that we don't take our standard for hard work and apply it to everybody else. Their capacity might simply be less or more. And we can't be looking at one another going, oh, lazy bum. Can't use that standard, but we can encourage all of us to pick it up. I remember vividly, and I even remember the preacher, whom I like. He said something about Paul working really, really hard. And he said, see, you got to be careful that you don't work yourself into the grave. Because you can work so hard, you become burned out. But if you don't work hard enough, then you rust out. I don't want either. I want kind of the middle. Well, I would suggest the more balanced approach, quite honestly, is that, yeah, we're always working hard, but there's going to be some days it just demands more out of us, and you go to bed drop dead tired. There are other days when you have a chance to not do so much. You should take opportunity to do nothing that day because we need rest. Resting is not a sin. It's a reminder that we're not God. It's good for us to remember rest. Now, you're one of those people who struggles to fall asleep. This maybe sounds foreign to you. I only have 4 words to say to you. Melatonin. You, therefore, can sleep and rest because it's chemically induced, but you should. And you shouldn't be made to feel guilty if you are regularly working hard, some days harder than others, and other days resting more than others. But that is not the issue of the sluggard, who does not face hard things, who is anxious and restless because they're not operating at the capacity that God has custom made them. There are 4 more signs of the sluggard. Are you starting to see how the Bible really tags us? No, it's not a psychiatry book because we don't need or utilize man's ideas. This is God's description of the human being who just isn't very productive. We will study 4 more signs. Are we having fun yet? And offer the solution to motivate all of us to get her done. This is Wretched Radio. You're just watching a 1 segment from the 4 segments that we do every single day on Wretched Radio. If you'd like to watch the whole shebang, you can do so at wretched.org. All right, gentlemen, second half. Here's the strategy. Psalms. Imprecatory Psalms. Now take a knee.